Okay, here we are. I've been here literally 2 hours trying to make this introduction, 2 hours. But started up this podcast, but here we go. It's time. I mean, you know what? I prepared all this script, all these incredible notions that I had to give you, but what I feel is better is for me to go from the top of my head and just go with the flow. Like imagine me with the posh accent. Welcome everyone to my podcast. Today we're gonna talk. Come on, man. I mean, that's not me. Like I'm more of a down to earth, person and just say it how it is, guy. And honestly, if anyone would have told me, in the past that I would have started a podcast, kidding me? Like me, podcast? Come on, man. I have nothing to say. I would literally laugh in their face so hard that they could even hear it in Japan. Here we are. The idea actually came in a very interesting way. I was in the Netherlands around 2 years ago, and I was at the gym. You know me, you know that I love going to the gym, and I love especially what the gym has done for me, but I'll get to this later. And I was doing my set. I was recording myself because I wanted to sort of have a diary of mine, of my journey towards, because I was a pretty chubby guy, I wasn't always fit like I am now. I wanted to document my journey, from the time that I was chubby fat until the time that I achieved the best shape in my life, both for me, but also for my friends, family, and everyone needing a sort of inspiration. If I could manage to achieve it, I don't see why anyone else wouldn't be able to. So it served the purpose for myself, for those dear to me, and everyone else, including you. And what happened? While I was recording, the worker actually came up to me and asked me, "Why are you recording?" I looked at him and I was like, I'm not bothering anyone. Don't worry about it. I'm not filming anyone. I'm trying not to get anyone in the frame. I'm just doing it for myself. And then he was like, no, it's okay. I mean, you can feel free to film. I just want to know why. And so I looked at him in the eyes and I literally told him why I was doing it, my mission, my purpose, that I was doing it for myself, also to show other people that they would be able to do it. But I would tell him with such a vision and such a fire in my eyes. And in fact, his reaction was, okay, I can see it in your eyes. I can see that you really want to do this. Exactly this, I can see it in your eyes, that sparked something in me. In that moment, I realized that through my mission, word, drive, I would be able to inspire other people. And it got me to think also that behind every single one of us, there's a story, and this story can teach a lesson. Eyes are the gatekeepers, are the mirrors of our soul. This is one of the reasons why actually for my cover for this podcast, I have myself, my iris, the picture in Rotterdam, because there's this iris gallery. I think it's iris, the color in our eyes, gallery. And they enabled me to have like a print of my eye. It looked like volcanoes. It was pretty cool actually to have. Also as a memory of me staying in Rotterdam for that period of time. I use that as my cover, and I think it speaks for itself, the message, because behind every person's eyes, there's a story. There's a story that can help other people, throughout their own journey. And this is what I'm aiming to do with this podcast, with Imprint, because I want to live an imprint. Now, hold on a minute. You might be asking yourself, why would anyone care about what a 25-year-old has to say about change, about inspiring someone, about storytelling? Well, let me do a mental exercise. Let's imagine that there's a 60-year-old and a 20-year-old. And of course, you would think that the 60-year-old has more life experience, hence has more wisdom. Is wisdom just the time you spend on this earth, or is also the speed at which you interpret life's imprint on you? If I can tell you, okay, this 60-year-old, stayed on the couch basically all his life, didn't accomplish anything, didn't do anything with his life, what kind of lessons does he have to give, or she has to have to give, But if me, in 20 years of life, I went through life and its teaching and I processed them 3 times the speed, then I basically have the same baseline level of knowledge to give, right? So it's not so much about the age itself, but about how fast you process, how many things you went through, and how many things you can relate to. And trust me, throughout my life, I do a lot of reflecting, I do a lot of reading, and I went through a lot of stuff. I moved a lot of times in different countries. I met incredible people. I always talk to people because I am an extroverted guy, of course, but I also like to get the essence out of the person and use that to inspire the other person. For example, I have a conversation with someone, I get an insight, and then I have another conversation with someone next, and chances are the conversation I had before could be used to help the person after. So this is what I really love. Also because I'm extroverted. I mean, I'm Italian, come on, you know? So this is also one of the reasons why I don't believe necessarily in the age aspect of wisdom. Of course, there's more chance of finding a wiser 60-year-old than a 20-year-old, but there are exceptions. And of course, I'm not married. I'm not talking about, life with like life lesson in terms of marriage, in terms of aging, because of course, I don't know those things, I can only speak from observation and research. But for my target audience, which is the youth, I'm also closer to them because I'm 25, so the better. What does imprinting mean? Imprint has two main meanings. One is pretty straightforward: leave a mark, legacy, testimony for future generations to kind of see, okay, at this stage of his life, what did Marco think? What did Marco do? How did he approach this situation? In a way that, for example, I could, through my story, inspire someone else to take action in other aspects. Secondly, quoting right now, imprinting is the early practical experience in life that determines the social imprints, attitudes, and behaviors of biological organisms in their latter parts of life. And if you think about it, every action has a consequence. Every cause has an effect. So everything you experience in your childhood, chances are that are going to have repercussions in your future. Now, why is this important for me? Because again, this podcast is serving for me, yes, as a kind of a journal, but also for you to take inspiration over what I live and what I experience, right? And what I reflect on as a young, from the young generations of now and the future generations. So, as this is useful because it's also a way for you to tackle the problems that you might face, the changes you might face faster, because you have me as a reference point. And trust me, the earlier you face those fears, the better it is. Did you know actually that the fear of long words is called hippopotomonstrosequipedaliophobia? Ironically, it's actually a long-ass word. So, hey, I mentioned this because if in the past, let's say that you experienced a very embarrassing moment, for example, in a recital, in a like a school setting, over saying a long word, then chances are that in the future you might be affected by it. And who's gonna face more challenge confessing this kind of problem? A young person or a 50 or 60-year-old in terms of ego, right? If I'm 50 or 40 years old or 30 years old in the full-on career, is it really gonna be easy to confess that I have a fear of long words? No, right? So the earlier you tackle those problems, the better. And if I can help younger generations now and in the future tackle this kind of issues, for example, then the better it is. But hey, this actually begs a question. Why am I so obsessed with change? I'm obsessed with change because I went through a big change in my life. I used to be really, really, really overweight. And thanks to sports, tennis, gym, discipline, mindset, I managed to achieve the goal of having the body of my dreams. And the joy and the satisfaction and the pride on obtaining the physique that I had is enough for me to be wanting to instill this kind of happiness in someone else, to inspire someone else to also go through the same transformation that, thank God, I actually went through. Change is perpetual, and what we usually define as change is in reality a micro change. What is a micro change? It's a chapter, an episode in our life that sparks a change within us. For example, a trip that you went to and then you came back and you changed perspective over something. For example, a physical transformation. You went from being fat to being in shape. For example, you went from making, 1,000 euros a month to 10,000 euros a month. But that's a transformation. That's a micro chapter in your life. Because change is perpetual. It begins and it ends when you're born and when you die. And the feeling of the feeling of knowing that I actually helped someone go through even one single micro change is enough for me to be able to say, okay, all the sacrifices I'm making with content, with delivering the messages, with hooks, is worth it. Because if I can inspire even one single one of you, I'm happy. Maybe this drive also comes from how often I've traveled or how often I changed life myself. Because if I think about it, I was born in Romania. In fact, I'm half Italian, half Romanian. And when I was 3, I arrived in Italy. My dad is Italian, my mom is Romanian. I was in Italy until I was 18 years old. Then I went to the Netherlands and started a new life as a university student for 5 whole years with COVID in between. So then I had to move to Tenerife because during COVID I went to Tenerife and I had to live there 6 or 7 months. So I had to start life over and over again. And now, guess what? I'm in Sweden. I arrived September, and by the time I record this, it's December. So soon to be Christmas. Hey, big changes. So I would know a lot about changing and restarting over and over again. And restarting over again is so hard and demanding because it's basically like telling the previous version of yourself that you knew that all this time, all this effort that you put in to become the person you are in that specific environment is over. And now you have to restart over again, rebuild yourself, rebuild the reality, all the paperwork, all the connections, all the services you need to figure out, all your routines, because guys, we are habitual animals, we are habitual beasts. We want to have our kind of routine. Of course, it's good to break away from the routine from time to time, but we want to have a sort of a rhythm or something that we call home. And all the experiences that I went through really changed me. But this is a topic for another video. So if you guys are on this platform, make sure you follow me so that in the next episode, maybe I will talk about all these experiences and hopefully I can help you out. Where does it start? So in my opinion, change starts from your mind. Now, okay, yes, I have a belief that there are 2 situations. One, when there's a wanted change, and one, when there is an unwanted change. In the first, the decision to change is the place where it starts, so in the mind. In the second, it's still in the mind, but it's in the reactive capacity of the mind. Because, of course, you couldn't plan it. So then how could you predict it and prepare for it, right? So it's in the ability to adapt and react to changes that is a real skill set. Now, yes, okay, we say, the change is from the mind because, yeah, it's all about the mindset. And to be fair, it is about the mindset because if it's an unwanted change, then when this happens, you just put yourself down. It's like, oh yeah, this change happened to me, sort of a victim mentality. Why me? Like, why not? Like from this perspective. And instead of saying, okay, this happened to me, what can I take from it? And how can I learn for the future? How can I adapt? How can I make this something that works for me instead of against me? So it's first of all a decision to change. And where does this change manifest itself? Well, I believe that the first step is actually of visible change should be in your body. Why do I believe that your physique should be the first thing to change? Because your physique influences so much about you. It influences the way that you perceive yourself, that others perceive you, the way you feel a room, and how you also feel in terms of confidence, right? Because you cannot even imagine how many times I denied myself an experience or going out or going to a dinner because I was ashamed of the way that I looked in the past. And you don't want this. You don't want your physical aspect to define whether you live or not the experiences. Now, I hear all this stuff about body positivity, body positivity. I don't believe in it because body positivity, as far as I understand it, is the fact that you accept your body no matter what. No, I don't believe this. I believe that you accept your own body temporarily for you to live those experiences. But you should always work towards improving your physique. It shouldn't be an excuse for you to stop and sitting on a couch and just eat popcorns.